So in this video, I want to show a couple different ways of implementing comparers. So you can see how to do it. The examples that we saw last night weren't very good. All right, so I've got my class here, demo main, not much to it. I'm creating an array list of fruit objects, and we'll see the fruit object is up there. We'll see that in more detail. But the fruit object all it's containing is a name, a color, and a size. Just three items that you might want to consider for fruit. All right, so we have a list of fruit defined. So now I need to populate our fruit objects. So I created a banana. It's yellow, and I picked 12 just for a number so we can rank the sizes of the fruits. I've got an apple that's red, size of 5. I've got an apple that's green, the size of 6. I've got an orange that is orange for the size of 7. So I've created my temp fruit object here, and then I add it to my list. So at the end of this, I now have 4 fruits in my list, and I'm going to print them out with this print line. I'm calling in my fruit. I've got my private properties here. I've got getters and setters for all of them, and here I've got a toString method. So I can just call print line, passing in my object. The toString method will get called, and we'll get that. So just to run that so we can see where we're at. And so here we're not doing any sorting at this point. And so they added the items. So we had the banana, we had the apple that was red, the apple that is green, and then if we scroll over, we'll see we have that orange that is orange. So that's the order we added them. That's the order they are now. All right. So come back over here to fruit. You'll see that we implemented comparable for the class. So that means that fruit now has a default comparison method that can be called. It's helpful for if you're comparing two fruits, you can compare them. You can also use this for sorting. All right, so when we implement comparable, we're going to give it an object type. We're going to be comparing fruit, so we tell it we want fruit in there. So once you declare a class implements comparable, you have to implement the compare to method. So that's what we've got here. So it's going to take a fruit. So it's going to compare the current fruit that is part of the class, or that is the instance of the object, and it'll compare that to the fruit that's being passed in. So that's why we do a return. We're going to do this. We're going to get the name. We're going to compare by name. We're going to do a compare to ignore case. So this way, we're going to ignore cases just to makes it look cleaner. And then get name. And o.getName, because we're calling in fruit O, which I don't know, probably F would make a little more sense there since it is a fruit. So we'll go ahead and change that. All right. So the object that gets the fruit we're comparing against is F. It's what's being passed in. The fruit that we have, or that this is an instance of, is called via the this. So this.getName, compare to ignore case, f.getName. So we compare the two names. The compare to already handles the +1 if this is greater, -1 if this is less than in the alphabet, and then if they're equal, return a 0. So we've implemented a basic compare to function, and so now we're going to call in sorting by that default sort. So what's a useful function we have here is collections. It has a sort method. So if your object or your list has objects that implement the compare to method, then you can just call collections.sort, pass in your list, your collection, and it'll sort that for you. We're just going to print out that we're sorting by name, and then we're going to see what our fruits look like afterward. So call that in, execute it. So now we're sorting by name. So apple was first, the red apple was first, then the green apple was first, and then the banana, because B is apple A after A, and then oranges after that. You'll notice that lowercase a, uppercase B, again, we ignored case, so that doesn't matter. So that's all well and good. However, what if you want to sort by color instead of by the name of the fruit? You don't want to go through and change your code to change that. So what you can do is you can add additional comparators. So what we've done over here, we've implemented one of them here. We've got a color comparator. So it's actually a new class that we're going to create. I've created a static class just to make it easier for us to access it. So this class, this comparator, implements a comparator, and it's going to implement this on fruit. All right, so this has a compare method that takes in two fruit objects, because we've defined that this comparator needs to work on fruit objects. And then we're just going to do the same thing we did before. So we have F1, so fruit 1, we're going to get the color. The color is a string, so that makes it easier. Compare to ignore case, we're going to compare that against F2, or fruit 2's color. So that's how we handle that. So then the question is, well, how do we tell the collections that sort to use this comparator? Well, we'll look at that syntax, and you'll see that all we do is we do collections.sort like we did before, passing your collection object, which is our myFruits array, and then you're going to pass in the method that we're going to use as the comparing method, or that's the comparing method. So we've got a new fruit and color comparator. That's what we called it. We're going to print out that we're sorting by color, and we're going to print out your myFruits collection. So that is uncommented, so now we can run it. And you'll see that now we are sorting by color. These will stay the same. So green, orange, red, and then yellow is the banana, right? All right. So we did that. The same idea can be held true if we look at size. So again, we did something similar there. Again, just a public static class. The name of the class implements comparator, comparisons on fruit. So then on the compare method, here we're dealing with integers because the size is an integer. So again, we just do simple comparisons. So if the size of fruit 1 is greater than the size of fruit 2, return a 1. If the size of fruit 1 is less than the size of fruit 2, return a -1. If it's not greater than, it's not less than, then it must be equal, so we return a 0. So those are our comparators. And then to call it, again, we'll uncomment this code out so we can execute it. So again, collections.sort, myFruits, and then the comparator you want to use. What's that method you're going to use? Pass that in, and we're going to print out that we're sorting by size, print out that collection, and now if we run it, we'll see that we're now sorting by size. So 5, 6, 7, and 12, right? So showed you how you can create a default comparator for an object by implementing comparable. And then if that comparison isn't enough, if you need additional comparators, you can create additional comparators at will and implement them that way. So that's what I wanted to show you with this short little lesson. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.